everybody, to the Do You Remember podcast. This is episode 005. This is Do You Remember, where nostalgia never gets old. I'm one of your co-hosts, Corey Hoffert.
And I'm Michael Gitter, founder of Do You Remember?
That's right. How are you, man?
Doing good. Thank you. Doing good. Staying away from trouble.
Yeah,
except during the podcast.
During the podcast, yeah, or afterwards. Well, it's going to be a really fun show. I'm super psyched about this because we're going to have a big segment, and most all this is about summertime, baby. It's upon us. It's summer, and we have a lot of great memories that we want to share about summer, and hear from some other people as well. We have 4 camp girls who met years ago at camp. They still hang out, and so they're going to be part of our guests later on the show with some really funny stories. So stick around and hear that. But first...
Uh-oh, look who arrived.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh.
Blankie time?
Oh.
Look, for anybody who's watching on YouTube, this is Ocean McKenzie Gitter. Hi, Ocean.
Say hi.
Oh. Well, do you and Ocean have the magic 8-ball on hand?
We do. We have the magic 8-ball. Okay. So
well, I have a magic 8-ball question that was submitted. And let me play that for you.
Go ahead.
Hi, Magic 8-Ball. Will I get to visit my family this summer?
Aw, that's kind of cute.
Melania, you live in the White House.
Maybe she's being held captive and can't see her family. Nobody in, nobody out, right?
Go to the golf course.
Oh my gosh. But with this time, traveling is really cut down. And
So
I think a lot of people are not going to be able to see their family. So yeah, what does the ball say?
Better not tell you now.
Oh no, that's not a good answer.
Better not tell you now. Oh, dreadful.
It is dreadful. It's kind of sad. I feel this way. There's many people, family and friends I haven't seen. I'm afraid it's going to be a while. What do you think?
No, it's, it is going to be a while. And I'm sorry that the Magic 8-Ball didn't have better news.
Yeah, we'll try next week. Hopefully with a question that has more upbeat possibilities, right? Well, look, being it's a summer episode, I want to bring something up that I found, which was shockingly ironic, coincidental, and fortunate for us, because it was 45 years ago this week, 1975, freaking Jaws came out. Do you remember that?
Oh no.
Baby shark, do 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 do.
Oh no.
Oh, she wants to watch Frozen. Okay, well, I think we have to put Anna on and get back to the podcast. What do you think?
Michael, we were saying Jaws. Do you remember that?
I was so scared of Jaws. I actually saw a recent post on Do You Remember, which had a bunch of guys, actually everybody, in inner tubes in a lake, watching Jaws on a big screen that was actually in the lake at night, and they asked the tag was, would you do this? And under no circumstances would I be in a dark lake in an inner tube watching Jaws, even though how fake it is compared to what it is now. I mean, even like Sharknado, which is the most absurd shark movie, was more realistic than the mechanical shark that Spielberg had. But it was such a powerful movie. I mean, it was just, I look at the, I hear that music, right? And I get chills. I literally, I got goosebumps just now from it.
Yeah. No, you're right. Because first of all, I want everybody to know, courage is not what I'm trying to represent here. I would not be in a lake in an inner tube in the dark anyways, especially if Jaws was on. Let me just throw that out there. But you're right. I remember seeing it. Have you seen the animatronic thing that was Jaws,
Yeah.
And it totally is unrealistic, but it was like the first big summer blockbuster movie. I mean, it was massive. Still today, it's like in the top few of highest grossing summer movies.
Yeah, it was 2 years before Star Wars was the summer blockbuster. I mean, it was really amazing how big this movie was, and it was scary. It really was scary.
Yeah. No, it's amazing, and it still is very relevant today in many aspects. I mean, Jaws is brought up all the time, especially in the summer, of course. I also remember another summer movie was E.T.
Yeah, I one of my favorites. I have a list of tearjerker movies, and E.T. Is definitely on it. Field of Dreams is my number one, but E.T. is just really gets to me. And Toy Story. On a more recent level. When you have a 2-year-old, you watch a lot of Toy Story.
Yeah, you have Woody flying around the living room and stuff.
Buzz does the flying. Okay.
Buzz, yeah. Okay, that's right. Yeah. Well, I just mean as a kid, every toy flies around. At least when I was a kid, right? I'd fly with all of them.
Yes, I do fly with all of them for sure.
I looked at Rotten Tomatoes, and they had like the best top rankings of movies for summer blockbusters. And after all this time, these movies are still at the top. Like, because Rotten Tomatoes is more modern, a lot of them were from like 2005 and more recent. Mm-hmm. But E.T. and Jaws and Alien, I think all three were in the top 10.
Well, Close Encounters should be in there as well. If it's not, that was really one of the great ones for me. Mm-hmm. Also, powerful, big blockbuster, great music, great sound effects. So that's pretty cool.
You remember summers? Did they bring back fond memories for you? Sweaty? Do you like the hot, sweaty summer?
I love the movies because I'm not a big fan of the heat. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the cold, but I'm not a big fan of the heat. Give me like right in between and I'm fine. But getting from a hot summer day, jumping into a cold, dark movie theater, drinking soda that's filled with crushed ice, and that's always been a pleasurable summer experience for me. So yes, I love seeing those blockbusters. And actually, I was speaking to someone recently about 2 years before Jaws came out was Soylent Green. That was 1973, I guess. And another movie, may not have been at the size of it, with Charlton Heston and Soylent Green as people. It was just this dark, futuristic, very, very weird, interesting movie. Another summertime movie that I remember. So yeah, of course, there's songs of summer, there's movies of summer, there's summer camp, there's things that we did, there's smells of summer. So when you're talking about summer, there could be something. It's interesting. Something as simple as the smell of a swimming pool brings back summer for me.
Yeah, chlorine.
Yeah. The chlorine smell, and I could smell it. After somebody, washes the floor, close my eyes, and I could think of summer.
Oh my God! I remember back then, less people had pools than they do today. And I always remember when summer would open and go to the city swimming pool with everybody. That was half of the hangout of the summer.
Oh, I never went to a city swimming pool. We had a pool at my house. Yeah. So we were like the cool kids because we had the swimming pool, the barbecue grill in the back. Mom used to smoke cigarettes and drink wine, and we would just hang out and frolic in the pool. So for us, it was always a backyard thing.
So did you charcoal back there too? Like, that's something else I remember, like charcoal and the lighter fluid on the briquettes.
Yeah, a lighter fluid is definitely a summertime smell.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not just lighter fluid, but like anything oily, like the oil that you soften your baseball glove with, and then you wrapped it with string and around a ball. That's kind of like I was a terrible baseball player. Absolutely, like they put a second person out in left field with me to catch the ball. I was so horrific in Little League, but
but you had the pool. And your mom was
exactly. I had the pool. We had cool bicycles. I mean, they were like I didn't feel like we were lacking for anything except my talent in playing baseball. But even to this day.
Hey, one of my favorite things still today, like these are things we're remembering, but one of the things I remember, but still love, the smell of that freshly cut grass. quintessential summer smell for sure. That and like maybe the sound of an ice cream truck.
Right, and you know, different areas have different ice cream truck sounds.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
the Mr. Softy is different than the Good Humor and so forth. We had Good Humor, so it was the string of bells held by, you know, a big rope, and the guy would pull the string, and the row of bells would ring, and you would hear it, and the neighborhood kids would come out. Literally stop in front of my house for like an hour while the kids came in
Yeah.
and grabbed their ice cream. And I always had the same one. It's interesting. I'm sort of a creature of habit. I had the chocolate eclair, which I think it was called the chocolate eclair, pretty sure. And it had the chocolate piece in the middle attached to the stick. So for me, like summer and Good Humor ice cream go hand in
I always
hand.
had the drumstick. You know, it's in a cone with ice cream, and then it has hardened chocolate and nuts on the top.
Yeah, I think
Unbelievable.
that's because you're a lot younger than me. I don't think we had drumsticks back then. We had strawberry shortcake,
Yes, yeah.
ice cream sandwiches, chocolate
Yeah.
eclairs. Then I don't think we even had like the soft truck. You know,
No, this is it. Sorry to interrupt. You just brought back my childhood. Ice cream truck, ice cream sandwich, ice cream running down your hand because it's so hot it melts so fast before you can eat a whole thing. And then you put back on the mitt, back to the baseball field.
Mhm.
There's summer.
There's yeah, that's summer. So I ate my ice cream sandwich in the weirdest ways. Like I liked getting the little sticky stuff on my fingers and sort of licking them off and then doing it again, to the point where I was like eating an ice cream sandwich, like sort of fingerprint by fingerprint. And I would eat the middle, like the vanilla ice cream, and save the outside, so that I would smush it down, and all be left would be two soft chocolate fingerprint dented ice cream sandwich part, you know, the sandwich part and the chocolate part. And that's what I would eat. And it was just like, wow. You know, as a matter of fact, I think that I would cry if I had an ice cream sandwich right now. I probably haven't had one since I was like 12. I think that would be interesting. Just sit here and go have an ice cream sandwich.
Well, they've innovated. I'm sorry, I shouldn't tell you this because you might get into them. But they've innovated on ice cream sandwiches. You know, there's a lot
With
of
the
flavors
cookies,
now.
you mean?
Yeah, there's like the Oreo. Well, it's an ice cream
No.
sandwich, but it's like an Oreo blizzard on the inside. You know?
Yeah, that's not an ice cream sandwich. An ice cream sandwich is rectangular. It's not circular.
Yeah. True.
You know. Then I mean, then you get into like the Carvel flying saucers, which we used to get all the time in these like rows, and literally they wouldn't last from the Carvel store to our freezer at home. They'd be gone by the time we got home, because each of us would have two of them. There'd be 4 kids in the car, and that would be it, done, finished, and delicious. So I guess, you know, it depends. You can call it an ice cream sandwich, but to me, an ice cream sandwich has always been wrapped in paper, has those,
Of course.
you know, the rectangular long ice cream sandwich, vanilla flavor, artificial everything. You know, I don't even think there's a natural flavor inside those ice cream sandwiches, or ever was. And it doesn't have cookies, it doesn't have chocolate chips, it doesn't have any of that stuff.
No, it's just totally messy. The whole breaks apart. Yeah, the
Totally
chocolate
messy.
flakes off on your fingers. The ice cream
Yes.
is made to melt down your arm. Totally,
Yes,
it's amazing.
Yes.
I remember
yes.
you had a pool. We did because, you know, I've said this before, but I grew up in North Dakota. Nobody has a pool. It's freezing there for 6 months out of the year, you know, so except the city. But every summer we'd have a lemonade stand.
Oh, you did?
You know, literally, and it was super fun because anybody in the neighborhood would come and, you know, participate, and we'd make out like bandits, you know, with $6 after a day of 25-cent lemonade. That goes a long ways back in the day.
I bet it does. North Dakota, you could buy a car maybe.
We own 3 houses. No. Yeah, maybe could have if we would have played a little smarter. I'm sure I bought more baseball cards and baseball mitts and skateboards.
Another summer smell is the baseball card powdery gum that came inside the baseball card pack, that when you bit it was like crunched, and then it got soft, and then it got hard again, and then it lost its flavor in 2 minutes. But you'd open it up and it would be that powdery pink gum. So you know, there are so many smells of summer. I mean, so many, just, you know, one of the biggest smells of summer for me were mothballs. Um,
Yeah.
because we had a cedar closet downstairs in the basement that later on became my photo studio, and I would make black and white prints in my photo studio, which was obviously, because it was a cedar closet, it smelled amazing in there. Plus, I love the smell of toxic photochemicals like Fixer and Developer that you make, well, nobody makes prints anymore, but except on their laser jets or whatever. But back then I used to develop and print film, and so the smell of cedar plus these photochemicals, and it was just so delicious. And I'm sure
Sounds psychedelic.
I'm sure terrible for you.
Yeah.
But before the cedar closet became my dark room, it had kind of run out of most of the cedar smell, but that's where we stored the sweaters in the summer, and prevented the moths from getting to them. So my folks would put like mothballs hanging in these little round metal tins with holes in them, and hung them in this cedar closet. So it was like the smell of cedar and cashmere and mothballs. It just was like overwhelming, burns your eyes, but it was very big summer smells, very big summer memories.
Very vivid memories, vivid smells, it sounds like.
Did
Hey,
you
let's jump
actually
in.
make your own lemonade, or did you buy the powdered stuff? I just want to know.
Both.
Both.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, obviously, we would have the big, thermos things, and we would get the country time powder,
Oh,
bunch
you
of
would?
ice water. But then we would also sometimes do it with sugar, ice water, and then squeeze the limes. Just depends. When you're a kid, there's no agenda, there's no routine. I wasn't punching a clock.
When I went to college, and so I went to college back in '79. When I went to college, there were these hippies that were on campus, and they had this weird sort of retrofitted truck that was kind of semicircular, screened-in truck. It was probably a Ford 150 retrofitted with this tent on top of it. And these hippies would sell lemonade, and it would be like fresh, delicious lemonade. You'd squeeze the lemons, they'd add the sugar water, then they'd put a slice of watermelon on this, right? I don't remember. It was expensive. It was memorably expensive, because I think they also used organic honey from their farm, which was probably a bunch of garbage. It was probably bought at the local store, but it was like, this was fresh, and the lemons were fresh, and this was, and I remember there were thousands and thousands of flies buzzing around this truck the whole time. But I remember they were only there from the end of August when we went to college until like October, and then they were gone. And I'm like, where do you go? Your business is so good. They're like, we go back to the commune for the rest of the year. We make enough money from like August until October selling just lemonade with slivers of watermelons with bees and whatever buzzing around, that we don't have to work for 10 months. They sold so much lemonade in those 2 months that they ended up being able to afford to do nothing except whatever you do.
Well, you're making me feel pretty bad about my little enterprise.
I know.
We didn't hit those milestones at all.
They really dialed it in,
Yeah, they were a little more mature maybe than Sis and I, Hey, let's get to a couple of our standard segments. We should talk about top posts. Did you find anything from the Do You Remember Facebook page that you loved this week?
I did, and surprisingly, even though we're talking about summers, two of the posts that were the most got the most amount of comments and likes and shares were winter posts. That in Montana, in Montana, somebody photographed that there's like 20 inches of snow or 15 inches of snow in Montana, and they wrote, it's June 12th. Could you believe that there's this much snow in Montana? And the second post that was also related was somebody had posted about the blizzard of '78. There were a number of blizzards. I remember the big blizzard in '69. There was a big blizzard in '69, '77, and '78. There were a lot of them, but this was about 1978. and there was something like 9,300 comments. People were really, really affected by these big giant blizzards, and it's just amazing that the weather is getting warmer, and everyone's craving to get outside. And the two of the many posts that we have, two of those many posts this week were about winter weather. So maybe people are just already ready for some cold weather. I don't know.
I guess it's the yin and the yang, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Must be. Must be.
No, that's true. It snowed in Montana.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Apparently it snowed in Montana. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Something I found which was perfect for this, and it rang a bell so much with me because I had a swing set at my house. So when I wasn't selling lemonade or playing baseball or skateboarding, I would be on the swing because I was never inside in the summer. But the post was, and I'll read it. It said, "Do you remember swinging so high that the poles came out of the ground?" I was like, yes, for sure.
Yeah, I remember that too. I remember. And we actually, I think, did it while we were standing up on the swing set. Is that possible?
Oh,
you
for sure.
hold onto the swing and then you
yeah,
stand
because
up
that
on
actually gets more weight moving, I think, because you can kick into it.
Right. So I wonder if there's a serious, I don't know. I'm sure that these days they wouldn't allow it, but back then the parents weren't around to watch it, so nobody saw it. But yeah, that's pretty funny. I remember that. I remember that memory very distinctly.
All right. Well, look, let's jump in. Last week, we like to ask you every week what you're nostalgic for. And it was Slip and Slide last week, which is very summary.
Yes.
What are you feeling nostalgic for this week?
Glass bottles.
Glass bottles.
Yeah, I'm nostalgic for glass bottles.
Like soda?
I knew we were doing a summer episode, and there's something really delicious about drinking a soft drink or any drink out of glass. Just the feeling on your mouth and it just feels colder. There's something better about it. So it reminded me when I was growing up, we had two deliveries. One was milk, which got delivered in these silver boxes outside of our house. We didn't have the fancy stuff like the chocolate milk or any of that. We had just milk, and on the top was the cream, and you kind of skimmed that off and you kept the cream separate. But they came with these little pogs and then a little cap, and then there were 6 bottles or so that fit in the milk thing, and the milk just tasted so good. Literally, you'd go into the fridge and you'd grab it. I would drink it right out of the glass bottles, and it was just big round glass bottle lips, and they were really just, it was just smooth like ice. And then we also had the seltzer man that used to deliver. So he would deliver in these crates that were wooden crates that obviously had been used and reused many, many times over. I remember the sound of the glass sort of jingling around in there, and you could almost hear it as the truck was coming down because they would all be shaking in the truck. And these blue bottles that were the thickest glass, just gigantic glass, thick glass, heavy glass things with these metal tops on them. And we would obviously, the kids would spray each other. So at least one of the, 10 seltzers would dissipate. But we made egg creams, we had seltzer fights, we drank it right out of the bottle. But also another thing that just tasted so good out of the glass. And I think that in this day and age, I think they are trying to make comebacks of glass, obviously for many different reasons, not the least of which is that there's an island off the Pacific, an island of plastic off the Pacific coast, and it's only getting worse. But not getting into that, but staying on the topic of Do You Remember, there's just something amazingly nice about glass, and I think that it should make a comeback, and I am nostalgic for it.
Dude, I buy into this so much. Give me a glass bottle of Coca-Cola or Fanta. It brings me to my childhood. I love it. It makes whatever you're eating taste better. It make that beverage is better in those glass bottles than it is in any cup with any ice or in a soda can, anything like that. I love it.
Yep.
Even for beer, the Miller High Life. Why do I like it? It's in the same bottle almost as a Coke, you know? Really, really great. And like, look, I don't want to be...
The champagne of beer, no?
The champagne of beers is the high life, right? And who doesn't want to live the high life anyways? But you know, like the glass it's heavier, so it's more difficult to ship than plastic things. But glass is primarily made from sand, so it's very renewable and it doesn't have the footprint that plastic does.
Right.
So there's a reason people should bring back glass even more. So
I'm completely nostalgic for it. I think that it would make sense to bring back glass bottles.
All right, so look, right after this quick break, we're going to be back with a group of summer camp girls who literally met like 40 years ago at summer camp and are still taking that tradition on every summer today and are still friends. So stick around, we'll be right back with them. Well, welcome everybody back to the pod. We're here with some special guests on our episode all about summer. So we're really happy to have 4 girls who know each other for a while. And I want to start out by saying, Red Rover, said Claudia right over. Michael, why don't you
start
chime
out
in?
by saying we never did any sports at camp.
Not even Red Rover. Okay.
We did. We had it scheduled.
Yes. We just didn't go. No.
I don't think we ever did that at camp.
We're drawing a blank. We don't understand.
So how long ago did you go to camp? What camp was it? How many years did you go? Was this your first year going there? Just give us a little introduction on what this camp experience was for you and give us a little background.
So who was there the longest? Not me. I was there the
Claudia.
shortest.
Claudia.
Only 3 years.
Claudia started as a little girl.
1974.
Claudia started in the 60s. Right, Claudia?
I mean, I started many things very young.
Yeah.
All of them.
Are we going there already? Is that where we're going already?
I think that, Claudia, you started camp in like 69 or 70.
No, I was. I think I was 12, which makes it 72.
Because I was there in 72. But I think that you were already there before that.
Maybe 1 year before I started.
Were you all in the same bunk? Did you all sort of get there and you bonded immediately, like you were in the same bunk or something?
I wasn't.
In the beginning, we were not in the
You
same
were-
bunk. There were two bunks of girls our age, but over time, the bunks self-separated. So initially they were kind of random, but then over time they became like more intentional. And then by the end, we were just one big bunk. So I think that we gravitated towards one another.
Was it like 8 of you? In boys, I was in a co-ed camp where we separated girls and boys by the lake. And we had, I think, 8 boys in each bunk. Is that about what you had in yours?
They were all different sizes because they were a bunch of dilapidated shacks. And so they fit different numbers of people.
Oh, okay.
I think some of them were like 12 and 16.
Yeah.
And then we had a bunk one year that was bunk 22, 22, and 23. And we called it 66. And I don't think that we actually like smashed out the walls with sledgehammers, but we may as well have.
Where was this camp? What cities, what state was it in?
Rhinebeck, New York, near Rhinebeck.
Okay. And what was the name of it?
Boyberick. You will not have heard of it.
It was
like Jewish.
It was a
anarchy
Yiddish
camp.
camp.
It's a Yiddish camp.
It was a Yiddish
Really?
socialist leftist camp.
They still
sort of
have those in the
non-religious, but
Concorder.
Yeah, so there were
Yes.
a lot of these camps, they had an adult camp as well.
Oh,
So it wasn't
okay.
just kids. Yeah, and that
And the
time
bubbies
on,
and
it was
ladies.
whole
It's kind of like
families.
Mrs. Maisel then, sort
It's
of.
exactly
Yes, it was. It
Not
was kind of
quite.
like that.
fancy though. Ours was not fancy
Not
like that.
It's ritzy.
Not as ritzy.
Very
And also
unwritten.
we went about, a couple of decades after that. But I think at the time of Mrs. Maisel, when Mrs. Maisel was actually set in the early 60s or late 50s, it probably was more like that than when
Okay,
we were.
so this would be my first question, because I went to camp in Maine where this made a difference. Did you have screens or windows in the bunks?
Screens.
Screens. Okay, so in the morning it was cold, right?
It was cold.
It was
Yeah.
cold and kind of moist and wet and like disgusting.
Dirty, dusty.
Yeah.
Bats.
Okay. So
It was
had the
definitely
whole-
cold in the mornings. It was cold in the mornings. Yeah.
Okay, so did they feed?
And
you
we would
the
kind of like make our way to breakfast with our hoodies and our, you know, we would wear like these pajamas that were one piece. They were called Dr. Denton's.
Right.
They were like terry cloth, and they were striped or red or different. And we would put them
Yeah,
on.
the zipper in the back
sleeping-
or something, right? Or the
Zipper.
buttons in the back.
The butt, yeah, they had a butt that just came down, and we would put them on, and then we'd sleep in them, and then we would put on our clogs in the morning. For some
Uh-huh.
reason, we all wore clogs, even though we were like and Dr. Scholl's shoes, even though we were clomping around on like uneven gravel and grass, and we would make our way to the dining room for a breakfast, and then we would go back to our bunk and go back to sleep.
After
Until
breakfast.
until someone forced us to move.
So
Yeah, that was cleanup time.
I don't remember any of
Right.
that. I might have
Cleanup
just
time
left
after
for
breakfast.
Did they make you do like hospital corners and make the beds, and then they do inspection and they rate you and stuff
They
like
did
that?
do
None of that.
inspection. You don't remember any inspections? They did inspection. Jane, you don't remember wearing Dr.
They were-
Denton's and like a hoodie?
Go to breakfast.
You don't remember going to breakfast? Well, we had all these ploys, like, okay, someone's going to sleep in. And we would rotate around, you know, to hide from like our unit heads, you know,
Mhm,
like who was hiding to not have to go and show up at breakfast. We had like
Oh, okay.
a rotation for that.
And was it a religious camp or just was run by religious
Yeah,
people?
There was
I mean,
a,
they
there
did
was a
Friday
religious
night.
aspect, cultural rather than religious.
So did you have Shabbat dinner and all that and do the whole thing? You did. Okay. That's
Friday
it.
night, everybody put on white clothing and lined up in a big horseshoe around the flagpole.
Okay.
And we had
And-
services Friday night
Right.
with singing, all in Yiddish, not Hebrew.
And
Oh,
Saturday.
oh, Yiddish, really?
You know, it's interesting to call it services because actually it was only singing.
Okay.
No,
There was nothing that resembled a service. We called it services, but it wasn't, there was no,
Well, but there were
like, the
speeches.
elements of a Friday night service weren't in there.
Well, they were.
They didn't
There's-
light the candles?
But there were stories that were read and told, and it was.
Were there games or anything fun that you guys did other than sleep in after?
Oh, we did a
breakfast?
lot of
Fun.
fun things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a lot of
We had a
fun
lot of fun.
things. They just weren't sports.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hanging out.
So you
walking
snuck out of the
around.
camp after.
Was it
after
a co-ed camp or was it an all
yeah.
girls camp?
Yeah.
It was co-ed.
We were on Girls Hill, and every night we snuck out to Boys Hill, or not every
Ah.
night, but multiple nights. It was a very active nightlife there.
That's why
Very
you went back to
active.
And every
sleep
night-
after
I've
breakfast.
never been busier than a camp.
You're right, Corey.
Up late.
Yeah, there was a lot of activity all night long from Girls Hill to Boys Hill.
Did anybody have
Oh,
their first kiss at summer camp?
Yes.
Everybody.
Yeah.
How many years did you go
That's
there?
why they shut it down.
How many years did we all go there? 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I went 5. I only went 5.
I went 6. I went 6.
What's your strongest memory of it? I mean, aside from bonding all these years, what is the one thing, if you would sort of distill this experience down, like what was the feeling that you had when you went to this camp? Did you look forward to it every year?
Yes.
Did you keep in touch in the winter times with everybody, or was it
Yes.
just it was okay?
It was a
We
lot
did
of
keep
hanging out
in touch in the
and
winter.
hanging out and laughing, and listening
A lot-
to music.
But the camp itself has a lot of longevity. I mean, my father went there.
Oh, I never knew that, Jane.
Really? Okay.
I didn't know that Jane's father went there.
Did you guys cry when you went home afterwards every year?
Sobbed. And then we had a reunion 1 week after camp ended, Labor Day weekend. Remember, we would meet at where did we meet? 59th Street? There was some
the
like
Central
central
Gate.
place.
Yeah.
Where?
In the city somewhere.
I know, but it was always the
Matthew
same.
Block.
Most of the kids.
No,
It
we met
sounds-
someplace in
What's that?
Central Park. And we like 1 week after camp ended, we went to this reunion, and then and then a lot of us went to the same high schools in the city, but not everybody. But people were very tri-state. It was New York, not even New Jersey or Connecticut. It was actually almost everybody was from New York, Long Island, Westchester, and Manhattan, the city. And then, yeah.
So some of you guys even
over.
like wrote letters to each other then between summers, yes?
We have so many letters.
Yeah.
Oh my God, letters, calls, yes.
Letters.
Yeah. I remember writing letters to friends. That was back in the day, way before cell phones and emails, So I'm sure you girls did if I did.
I'm sure I still have some of mine.
Did you have color war at your camp? You said you didn't do sports, but did you have? I mean, that was.
I don't think we had color war.
We had something else. We did know we did.
It sounds like you don't remember a lot of these.
We did have color war.
Why do you think that is, Michael? Why?
Yeah, why do you think that is? No, we did have color war because I remember we had swim races and all kinds
I don't
of
remember
ridiculous
color war at
things.
all. No color war. No, but we had shows. We had musicals. Like all these other women on the call, they were in, actually, I'm not sure. I don't remember if you were, Robin, but I remember Claudia and Jane being in Fiddler on the Roof, right? Singing your hearts out.
Yeah.
And, they would put on a musical every summer.
Yes, and original musicals.
Often an original musical. Fiddler on the Roof was an exception because it wasn't original, right?
So you guys continue to get together today?
Do we?
As often
Yeah,
as
they're friends.
Yeah, we go away twice a year.
Yeah, so like a camp atmosphere, kind of.
We have camp.
We have
we go
adult
twice
camp.
a year
But now everything is
twice
legal.
a year to Fire Island, once a year to the Berkshires, and then we have city weekends where we do theater, and every Sunday morning we do yoga. That's our
Actually,
newest
whether
tradition.
it's legal depends on
Zoom.
what state we're in.
I was going to ask who's sneaking out now. It's not sneaking.
Not in Massachusetts.
Wow, that's amazing for those bonds to hold so long. And you guys don't only are friends, but you go and do activities like that.
Yeah, it's sort of, we've remained friends, but then we started this pattern. How long ago did we start?
Well, it wasn't straight through though. I mean, some like you and Kathy, whatever, you guys stayed friends straight through. But for the rest of us, we re-met at that reunion, and then it took off from there. But then we found that we had a very special chemistry with the specific 7 of us.
Were there any summer movies about
the times of our lives that we just found one another again and have kept those ties really strong, because we sort of, these are very important female friendships that we have and
the
that we need.
personalities are the same. The personalities are the same.
You
Exactly the same.
you think so, Rob? Exactly the same.
In some ways.
Yeah, Julia, yes, you, my dear. She is very intellectual, very creative, artistic. Jane is our music person. I'm not sure what I do, but I laugh hysterically with these ladies and always have. Have the best time.
That's great. Is the camp still there?
It closed in
It turned
1979, but it's now the Omega Institute for Holistic Healing. And they took all the bunks and all of the buildings that they could salvage and kept them intact. And then what they couldn't salvage, they tore down and they put up some new buildings. But that's why there's a reunion there every few years where the camp, people who went to this camp, which was open for more than 50 years, they're able to convince the Omega Institute people to allow them to use the space and have a reunion on site. And people come from all over the world and all of these years. But it closed in 79.
Have you been back there since then? I mean, have you?
We've been a few times for these
reunions. Does it bring back the reunion? So does it bring back the same sort of feelings? Do you get the memories? Do you get the goosebumps? Do you get
absolutely. Have any of you gone to Omega for Omega?
No.
Like even when I've gone to Omega for a workshop, which I've done a bunch of times, the turn, I mean, you can't do it anymore, but you used to turn off a certain exit on the Taconic State Parkway onto this street called Pumpkin Lane. You can't make that turn anymore. But, that like you would exactly what you just described. Make that turn onto Pumpkin Lane and, start to get tachycardic and have like an adrenaline surge. And, still even going to like yoga for middle-aged women workshop.
That's
like,
very cool.
Why am I getting an adrenaline surge going down Pumpkin Lane to yoga for middle-aged women workshop?
No, there's a lot of memories tied to it. I mean, I know you mentioned that your dad, Robin, you said your dad went to that camp as well?
Jane.
Oh, Jane.
No,
I'm sorry. Your pictures have switched. Okay. So
my in-laws went there.
My uncle and father went to the camp that I ended up working at for one summer, and my uncle's name was written in the beam of the bunk, and all the names of people were. And we finally found it. And it was like so cool to see my uncle's name written there when he was probably like 14 years old. It was it's just really interesting. And it's for me, like my summer camp experience was in Maine, as I mentioned, which was really cold. And I remember things like Reveille with the scratching record that would come on. And I remember these like heavy woolen blankets that were itchy. When Reveille would come on, it would be so cold. You'd have to get out of the bunk. It was like you breathing steam and stuff. Like my experience now feels a lot better than when I was there, because it was so unpleasant. Like it was just, it's just, I don't know. I
really hate being cold.
I hate being cold. I actually hate, even to this day, I hate being cold. It's one of those things where I just don't like it. It's also, my folks, when we went to Vermont as kids, the house was always really cold when we got up there after driving 4.5 hours in the car. That's a whole different podcast. But no, but the reason I'm asking is because like summer camp brings back all these memories, and the Omega, for you, you still do reunions at the Omega, or you don't do reunions there?
Like one every 3 or 4 years. And so we've done 2, and there was supposed to be one now, but it was canceled because of COVID.
Gotcha.
So we've been to at least 2, right? The one where we all sort of reconnected, and then we were at another one. Robin, I don't think you were there. No, I think there were 2 others. One I wasn't there, but Robin was there, and another one I was there, but Robin wasn't there.
Mm.
Do you guys remember all that?
Yes. I do. But I feel like we've formed our own, we have our own group now that's more powerful in a sense than the reunions.
Well, it's not as based on nostalgia. I mean, we never sit around and talk about summer camp.
Once in a while.
You don't talk about
Very
summer
rarely.
camp.
No, once in a while.
I mean, we have
sometimes we talk about the old people.
Okay.
But we talk about them now with like 40 years of insight and perspective. It's not just like, oh, remember when this one did this one? It did this. It's more like, why do you think that was happening?
Hey, that's because you guys are cheating. You're seeing each other way too often. You're having camp every summer. You're having yoga every Sunday.
It's become not a nostalgia thing anymore. You're absolutely right. It is right. But we don't kind of need that the way that other people who don't see each other for a long time. But even with the advent of social media, you don't have that thing of like, oh my God, it's a reunion and I'm going to see all these people that I haven't seen, because you're seeing what's happening. Like you can find out what's happening with people.
So you guys would recommend people go to summer camp though, or if they have kids or grandkids, you think? Like you guys must be advocates.
Well, I have 2 kids, and both of them went to summer camp for a decade each, and are very, very connected to their camp friends.
You mean you sent them away for 10 years?
I did.
Is that what you mean? No, I always wondered if some people send their kids to summer camp just so they can get a break and have a week without the kids, right?
Yes, of course. But
some people do that.
I don't think the kids now actually see the camp in the same way. I mean, I don't think the parents... Julie, I think maybe you're the exception. Your kids did go for like full summers, but my son went to like these like two weeks here, 2 weeks there. A lot of people I know are doing things more like that. That the kids are, they wouldn't want to do one thing all summer long.
Julia, do you have a favorite memory? Just one?
Our very last summer, actually, it's interesting, Jane and Robin and Claudia, it was the 4 of us, our very last summer. The 4 of us lived in this little tiny space. It was probably like 60 square feet. And we had our 4 little cots, and we would hang out in that little space with each other all the time. Yeah, and Jane, you had a stereo, like that played record out, vinyl. And
we had her window with the hole in the screen.
There was a screen in the window that was over Claudia's bed, and the screen had a hole in it, and so we all used to sit on Claudia's bed and smoke and blow the smoke out the window and at the hole in the screen. And those were like great times. Those were like really seriously relaxing, like times where all the things that fill our minds now that make us who we are just hadn't happened yet. And we had so much free time and so much ability to just chill and not be caught up in all the things that you get caught up in when you're a grown up. I was really
that it was good to be away from our parents.
Right.
Home life was sometimes not great. So it was good to be away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Robin? Do you have a favorite memory?
Also in that bunk, I remember lying in bed with Julia Yu, and we're like looking at books and doing art and just like listening to we would like listen to music really loud, smoke a joint, and listen to music really, really loud in that room.
Smoke a joint, smoke cigarettes, like drinking. Like I didn't go to any camp like that.
Oh yeah, well you missed out. Claudia also taught us a lot of really important life skills.
Oh my God.
And for me, I was the girl from Long Island, and these guys were all from New York City. And they were much more sophisticated. And so they I was like, oh, wow, look at these girls. They're really cool. And I would go into the city every other weekend, that after that you're like 15, 16 years old and hang out. And we'd go to Kathy's house in the Village and Lenore's loft in Soho and just like walk around, go to Reminiscence and shop in the used clothing stores and do more of the same. Listen to a lot of good music and smoke a lot.
That's so funny.
It was the 70s. There was a lot of, that going on.
But again, this is why the camp is no longer open, for the record.
This isn't why. This isn't why.
What about
I just had like a memory of Reminiscence. I remember the smell of that store. It smelled like their perfume. I think it's Ylang Ylang, I think was the perfume in there. And it was just like this. All of a sudden you said Reminiscence, and it reminds me of like these big baggy pants that my sister used to wear, acid wash jeans or something.
Yeah, what did they call those pants? Jane, do you remember those overalls that you got at Reminiscence? And they were dyed all those different colors.
They're dyed, exactly.
Yeah.
Pants or something.
Like Baker pants, and then they were dyed all these different colors.
Yeah.
What about you, Jane? Do you have
white.
one memory you want to share with everybody?
Well, what's the rating on this podcast?
Unrated so far.
Well, I mean, I think that something that was unique for me was that I did do a lot of creative stuff there. I mean, I did end up being an actress and musician, and I started it all there. And every summer, no matter what, I was completely and utterly boy crazed. And no matter what, every summer, there was a point where I was sitting on my bed, strumming my guitar and creating some ode to some boy that had broken my heart and weeping. And all of my friends were extremely supportive of me. And that just continued on. So
That's
nothing has changed. I'm still doing the same thing. So yeah, that's for me.
Well, Michael, I think we need to have our own summer camp.
I think you're right. I mean, I really do. My cousin John, my youngest cousin, has been at Camp Equinox for like 45 years. He's the assistant director of the same camp that he went to summer camp at, and it's crazy. Like he keeps going back again and again, and some people really have a big connection to camp, and most of the camps are gone. A lot of the camps are gone. But when I talk to people I'm from Long Island also, so when I talk to people from about summers, it always comes to like, what camp did you go to? Because inevitably we all went, whether it's Equinox and Blue Ridge or Cobbessy or Manitoba. I mean, they're all like Indian names where I went to camp, but it was just really interesting to me that it's kind of like when you talk New Jersey, they ask what exit. When you talk to Long Island people, it's like, what camp did you go to? So it's interesting that you've kept these memories alive just through friendships. I mean, I know it's not as nostalgic necessarily as it might be if you only saw each other once every 10 years at a reunion, but it's still pretty interesting that you've all sort of gotten together, remained friends for this long, and it all started in one summertime experience, which is pretty cool.
My vision for the future is an evolved version of summer camp, which is co-living, where we each have our own bunk, but there's also communal space. That's literally how I fantasize about the future.
I think
we're looking for the land.
We got to find it.
It's interesting it's off topic, but being in Miami at the moment, my folks and Claudia and other friends being in different places, the idea of sort of being in a community environment would be very great, especially being a father of a toddler, where she would grow up amongst many people that loved her. So it's always up for consideration when this is all over that we're going to come join you, Claudia.
Well, you guys buy the property, and then we'll have a Do You Remember camp every summer there. We'll have the whole audience from Do You Remember come. So make room for like 13 million people.
Hell yeah. Well, we've been practicing in our weekend getaways when, we're like 3 to 5 times a year. It's what we do. We just live together,
That's
just
awesome.
like it was.
Well, thank you all for sharing.
Her bed pining away. Necessarily.
But there's much better food now because you guys are excellent cooks.
We cook a lot. Yeah.
That's
well,
great.
thank you guys
Thanks
for
to DJ.
sharing your stories with us on our summer episode.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
Enjoy
Nice
your
to
summer.
see you. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Do You Remember podcast. I'm laughing.
My ears are ringing from them. Oh my God.
Isn't that funny?
Oh, I couldn't imagine like getting together with 7 of them. It's got to be a hoot. Absolutely.
Hey, it started kind of, everybody felt each other out on the conversation, but I knew there was something there. And to think in their summer camp, they were doing all that stuff. I mean, I'd be friends today too.
That summer camp sounded like there were absolutely no counselors. Like it was total anarchy. Like the counselors.
Hey, I was thinking it was like Club Med. Go and they take you skiing on a boat, but then there's they make you dance all day and party all night.
Hands up, baby, hands up. It was like, oh my God, their experience in summer camp when they were talking was like, we would get into so much trouble if we did that. I mean, we would absolutely get tossed out on our ear if we had done any half of those things. Yeah. Breaking the bunk walls together to make a bigger bunk, but 22 became 66. It's like, what?
They were cutting holes in the screen doors and windows to blow smoke out.
I know, it's like smoking. I'm thinking,
well, they would just say, oh, the guys came and did that. We didn't do it.
And if we got caught going to the girls' camp, I mean, are you kidding? Like, there were like, I think we called them socials, where we used to have dances with the girls, and that was like a big deal. Like the boys dressed up and whatever, and they were kind of they're young teenage boys. So of course we wanted to go to the girls' side, but it sounded like this was a regular thing until late into the night. Like we had lights out, and then they kind of did a sweep to see if we were all in bed, and you couldn't just put a pillow and a blanket and pretend. You had to be there.
Look, I gotta say, this rang a bell for me, and I really think this planted a seed. A Do You Remember summer camping event somewhere. Not this summer. I think 2021 would be a great way to get all 13 million people together.
I'm pretty sure they have something like that. But
no, I think that could be a blast.
To get all the Do You Remember people together, invite them to some summer camp somewhere. Play tetherball, play dodgeball, have cookouts,
horseshoes,
have color war do a sing song, an original. Maybe we do Dirty Dancing or something like a.
Yeah.
They did Fiddler on the Roof at the Yiddish camp. So it's just like, okay.
Oh my God. Oh, thanks everybody for tuning in. It was really fun talking about summer.
All right. Have a good summer, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, that's right. And hey, thank you for listening. And this is a new podcast. So please feel free to rate it or subscribe or comment, share with your friends, any of that. We love to spread the word where we can share memories and get feedback from other people.
And if you have a Magic 8-Ball question for next week, please send it to info@doyouremember.com and we'll try to get it on the air. And if we put it on the air, we will send you a copy of the Do You Remember book, absolutely free of charge. So we will send you a copy of the Do You Remember book if your question is asked of the Magic 8-Ball.
There you go, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for watching and listening.